Entertainment industry plus supernatural plus live streaming plus variety shows plus physical exorcism. Qian felt like she had fallen out of blood mold. After 5 years in the entertainment industry, she was still an 18th-tier scumbag with a lot of strange and bizarre black materials. Recently, there have even been rumors that she has been raising a little ghost to the point of being possessed by evil. How could she possibly raise a little ghost? She's just a weak woman with yin and yang eyes. Qian is very sad about the online slander of her. She didn't participate in this variety show just by being a little devilish. If it weren't for that ruthless agent forcing her to take on variety shows and make money, she would have gone up the mountain to apprentice and successfully become a monk by now. Moreover, it is a popular science variety show, and the filming location chosen here is more haunted than in the hospital. Qian had to resort to killing female ghosts to protect himself. Unexpectedly, he became an ambassador for the promotion of mysticism due to the entire live broadcast. Although he released himself just to withdraw from the circle, how could Qian feel that he was getting further and further away from it? All fear stems from insufficient firepower female lead. Easily frightened, timid but with high strength, easily angered when scared, initially somewhat reserved, gradually revealing her true nature. The female protagonist is prone to being frightened by sudden appearances, and needs to adapt to new ghosts for a period of time. Chapter 1. I'm going to become a monk. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I have decided to escape into the empty door, and I hope the female benefactor will not entangle me. The woman was dressed in a grey Taoist robe and sat cross-legged on a bamboo mat next to the window. She held a brand new string of rosewood Buddha beads in her left hand, and her right hand stood upright on her chest, with a yellow talisman paper sandwiched between her fingers. Her beautiful face and eyes were tightly closed, and only the slightly furrowed brow exposed the woman's tense emotions. Who are you fooling? I don't know you yet. Just those over 100 muscular men in your collection. If you can escape into the void, I can shake my flower hand upside down. The roar of a woman came from the phone in front of Qian. Qian squinted his eyes and glanced at the phone. After seeing the face of his agent Lu Xia blushing with anger, he quickly closed his eyes. Xia Jie really looks like the dean's mother when she gets angry. Qian thought this way, but his face remained expressionless, except for the Buddha beads in his hand turning faster and faster. Lu Xia looked at Qian on the opposite side of her phone, who was completely focused on the Buddha, feeling that her lung tubes were about to explode with anger. This dead girl doesn't know which style she drew. They worked tirelessly in the entertainment industry for 5 years, only mixing up some strange and bizarre black materials. Now they finally managed to win a star-rated variety show promoted by a platform. Why did this girl say she wanted to sneak into the air? As long as Lu Xia remembers the way she has been nodding and bowing to the director and investors to fight for this opportunity during this period, she would love to put all the Buddhist beads in Qian's hand into her nostrils. Lu Xia felt more and more angry as she thought about it, but as she looked at the other person with a dead pig's expression that was not afraid of boiling water, she could only suppress her almost explosive emotions and try to persuade Qian with a gentle tone. Shallow, we have worked hard for so many years, and only the two of us know how much hardship and fatigue we have endured. Are you willing to give up on the opportunity to turn things around against the wind now? Qian trembled imperceptibly as he listened to the grinding sound of Lu Xia's words. Of course, she is not willing to accept it. If it were not for last resort, she would definitely not consider withdrawing from the circle. Sister Xia, I can't bear it anymore. I've seen more ghosts than people in the past few months. If this continues, I'll have to go to a mental hospital sooner or later. Qian and Lu Xia grew up together from a young age, knowing each other's roots and foundation. Qian never concealed anything about his yin-yang eyes from her. Upon hearing these words, Lu Xia felt his veins twitching on his forehead. No, Qian. You have had yin and yang eyes since you were young. Now you're telling me you're going to be scared out of mental illness. What did you do 20 years earlier? Didn't my eyes be sealed before? The master who sealed my eyes passed away unexpectedly 2 months ago. After he left, I could see ghosts again, and these past few days I have even started to touch them. Sister, I can't hold on anymore, just let me go. Qian spoke with a crying tone, coupled with her beautiful appearance, which had a hint of pear blossom and rain. Unfortunately, sitting opposite her was Lu Xia. Qian has always been a crybaby since childhood, but he is also the king of fights in their kindergarten. The more he cries, the more stable he becomes. So every child who comes out of their kindergarten must bring their own tear shielding skills. Anyway, if you sign the contract, even if you sell us, you won't be able to pay the penalty for breach of contract. You should accept your fate as soon as possible. I'll pick you up on Saturday morning, that's it. Goodbye. After finishing speaking, Lu Xia quickly hung up the phone without giving Qian a chance to refute. Qian was speechless and choked. When she signed the contract, she didn't expect Master Buchang to die suddenly because he met his old lover. Speaking of which, one cannot judge appearance. Master Buchang looks kind and kind-hearted, but I didn't expect him to be so scumbag when he was young. Be merciful everywhere, and eventually fall to the point of becoming a monk and avoiding disasters. Maybe even the master himself didn't expect it. His ex-girlfriend's revenge actions can last for over 30 years. 2 months ago, Master Buchang went out to visit his friends, but as soon as he left the mountain gate, he encountered an old lady who was physically assaulted. It's strange to say that even though the old ladies didn't have much strength, he was actually scared to death in the end. As expected, a scumbag has his own destiny. When Qian received the news, she was filming on the set. As a maid, she was standing behind the second female lead, staring blankly with lowered eyebrows. Suddenly, she felt a darkness before her eyes. At that time, Qian secretly thought that it was not good. After the scene was filmed, she looked up and saw a woman wearing a white long dress hanging on the beam of the roof, her long black hair hanging straight in front of Qian. Qian's eyes immediately turned red and he almost cried on the spot. Since then, Qian has been seeing ghosts everywhere, and it is the first time she has discovered that there are so many pairs of eyes hidden in the shadows of the set. But at that time, Qian had not yet conceived the idea of leaving the circle. After all, she has been struggling in the entertainment industry for so many years, how could she have failed due to the small matter of going to hell? Besides, even earlier, before encountering Master Buchang, she also lived with a pair of yin and yang eyes for more than 10 years. It doesn't make sense, so now it's not possible. This idea persisted until last week, when Qian went to a convenience store to buy something and accidentally bumped into a man while going out. She instinctively wanted to turn around and apologize, but caught a glimpse of the other person's 2 dangling pants legs. Qian suddenly felt a chill in her heart. As she looked up along her pants, she indeed met a strangely smiley face. At that time, Qian felt that his 3 souls and 7 souls were about to be scared away. In a hurry, she grabbed the shopping bag in her hand and threw it at the male ghost. After knocking him down, she still felt uneasy and stepped forward to kick him in the head. Until the male ghost collapsed to the ground like a corpse, Qian picked up his shopping bag and hurriedly fled the scene. On that day, in order to prevent being followed by male ghosts, Qian went to 3 temples in a row. Upon entering, he went all the way to buy talismans and burn incense, and worked until evening before returning home. Although Qian used to encounter ghosts, it was already before the age of 15. Qian thought that this skill had disappeared with age. This incident completely shattered Qian's psychological defense line. After all, there is a fundamental difference between being able to see and being able to touch, and she is not mentally prepared to have intimate contact with friends on another layer. Qian now only wants to find a place to become a monk and ensure safety. All wealth and fame are external possessions, after all, the end of the universe is metaphysics. Qian didn't expect that this idea would hit a wall with Lu Xia as soon as it was proposed. In fact, Qian can also understand Lu Xia's unwillingness. After all, Qian is not bad at looks. Although his acting skills may not be perfect, he is definitely one of the best in the new generation, but for some reason, he just can't catch fire. During the 5 years Qian spent in the entertainment industry, she spent every day auditioning, filming, and leaving work. There was a cycle of auditioning, filming, and leaving work. Not to mention the unwritten rules, she didn't even participate in dinners a few times, and her life was more regular than that of a social animal. Sometimes Qian suspects that she has been isolated from the entertainment industry. Why is it that everyone is obsessed with money, and now it has become a daily life for working people? Even the characters they played were uniform maids and attendants, and they didn't even get along with the second female lead. Moreover, Qian clearly saw from her marketing account that celebrities are the industry that earns the fastest money, so why did she earn less money than before? After working diligently for 5 years, Qian moved from the city center to the suburbs. If she couldn't make any more money, she probably would have to move directly to the village in the neighboring city. But it's not appropriate to say that there is no such person in the entertainment industry. Qian is still a few inexplicable black materials. The first one to bear the brunt is that Qian once secretly watched the news of popular actor Su Qi taking a shower on the production team of Immortal Ballad. Qian was also quite unjust about this matter. At that time, it happened to be during filming time, and she pulled 2 makeup artists to the bathroom. As soon as she walked out of the set, she saw a motorhome driving over. Before they could dodge, a naked man fell out of the parked RV. Upon closer inspection, Qian saw that it was Su Qi, the male lead of that drama, who was the opposite. This scene was captured by paparazzi and slightly polished, turning into a scene where the actress secretly watched Su Qi take a shower, and Su Qi accidentally fell out of the RV in shock. As for the news about eating all men and women, Han Mengyao, the breast actress at Qian's celebration banquet, it's even more unjust. The actual situation at that time was that Han Mengyao drank too much and forcefully grabbed Qian's hand to press on her chest, even shouting while pressing. Qian, look, my chest muscles are bigger than Wang Xian's. Wang Xian was the male protagonist of that play, who had also been drinking too much at the time. He was kneeling on the side, holding the director's thigh and crying bitterly, which scared the director to the point of sweating profusely. The old man almost fainted while watching. As for the recent news that Qian is suspected of being possessed by evil, is the female hooligan finally being backfired, Qian does indeed have a certain responsibility. However, it's not entirely Qian's fault. Who would have thought that someone would be taking pictures of her, this 18-line transparent little girl? And she also happened to capture the scene of her kicking a male ghost outside the convenience store. Due to the inability of the male ghost to enter the camera, it was captured as if Qian was crazily beating the air at the entrance of a convenience store. Qian himself felt particularly eerie, let alone those unaware netizens. So the online craze spread that Qian suffered from backlash due to raising little ghosts, leading to the madness of evil and losing his rationality. In the eyes of the public, Qian has become a twisted actress who bullies men and women and loves to engage in feudal superstition. Even her pure natural face was rumored to be undergoing plastic surgery after birth due to excessive amounts of black material, with the aim of reducing others' vigilance and making it easier to take advantage of tofu. Qian's initial purpose in participating in variety shows was actually to take the opportunity to wash away some of the black material. Entering the Truth is the main push of Tomato TV this season, which mainly invites several celebrities to explore the truth behind various supernatural rumors in locations. Of course, science will be used to explain the strange phenomena that occur at the end of each episode of the program. In short, this is a science popularization reality show that combines the most popular elements of detective, suspense, supernatural, and reasoning recently. Of course, this is not the most important thing. For Qian, the most valuable aspect of this program lies in its two regular guests, Su Qi and Han Mengyao, who have had strange rumors about her. If the operation is done well, this will be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for Qian to whitewash. Lu Xia begged his grandfather to tell his grandmother in order to win over this program for Qian. He drank so much that he was almost suffering from gastroenteritis, and finally managed to put Qian in the queue of permanent guests. As the recording was about to start in 3 days, Qian suddenly said he wanted to give up and not work. Of course, Lu Xia couldn't agree. She had already planned that if Qian didn't show up on the day of departure, she would hang herself directly at his doorstep, causing him to suffer from conscience condemnation every time he went out. Unfortunately, Qian did not give Lu Xia the opportunity to implement this plan. At 8 o'clock on Saturday morning, when Lu Xia arrived at Qian's house, she saw that Qian was already waiting downstairs with his luggage. Lu Xia was somewhat surprised by Qian's obedience. While opening the car door, she also joked, "Why, do you want to open it?" Qian ignored Lu Xia's question and got straight into the car. Lu Xia didn't mind either. When she sat back in the driver's seat, she heard Qian in the back row gritting his teeth and whispering, "Drive quickly." Lu Xia stepped on the accelerator and rushed out. She grew up with Qian from a young age, and from this state of mind, she knew something must have happened. This journey lasted for over an hour, and Qian didn't say a word throughout. Only her increasingly red eyes showed her unease, which persisted until she boarded the plane. Until the plane landed, Qian followed Lu Xia to the hotel and nervously inspected every corner of the hotel to ensure that there were no unnecessary shadows before finally relaxing. "Xia Jie, how many days will this program be recorded at a time?" Qian collapsed on the bed, feeling extremely nervous for a long time just now, which consumed her great energy. Lu Xia flipped through the schedule sent by the production team and answered while also warning Qian. "Let's take a break at the hotel today. The official recording time will start at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning and will last for a week." "What's wrong? You're not rushing back to become a monk, are you?" Qian seemed a bit lost in thought and paused for a while before replying. "It's only been a week. No, it's too short, Sister Xia." Qian grabbed Lu Xia's hand and said, "Can I stay at your house?" "Ah." Chapter 2. Opening Session of Stimulation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lu Xia didn't react. With a moment of stunned effort, tears had already burst into Qian's eyes. "Xia Jie, please, save people from fire and water. My house has been occupied and it's almost become a gathering place for ghosts nearby." Qian said, releasing Lu Xia's hand and turning around, he threw himself onto the bed, burying his head in the pillow. "I wake up every day crying, and even after washing my face, I can see red clothes floating back and forth behind me. The most despicable thing is that they always suddenly appear to scare me. I have already pulled out organs from the takeout bag 5 times in a row." Qian became more and more excited as he spoke, tears streaming down his face as his hand became stronger. Lu Xia watched helplessly as the pillow being held by Qian became increasingly flat, and in the end, it exploded. The cotton inside covered Qian's face, making her choke and vomit on the edge of the bed. Lu Xia sighed as she looked at Qian, whose face was covered in white hair, and obediently went to the front desk to ask for a new pillow. The recording location of the first episode of Entering the Truth was an ancient mansion in a suburban village of Zijing City, which was 3 hours away from the hotel where Qian and his companions stayed. Therefore, the next morning at 5 o'clock, Qian woke up with sleepy eyes and began to put on makeup. Although Qian doesn't have much talent, the production team treated him equally and arranged a nanny car for him. This is the first time Qian has taken such a car, and if he's not too tired to open his eyes, he will definitely study it carefully. After sleeping in the car for an unknown amount of time, Qian opened her eyes to the call of the director's team. As she was about to speak, she felt a bit dry in her mouth. Subconsciously, she squeezed her lips twice before hearing a message coming from her phone. Qian took out his phone and clicked on it. It was a WeChat message sent by Lu Xia. Don't nitpick. The live broadcast started half an hour ago. Live streaming. What live broadcast? She hasn't heard of this before. Qian looked at the accompanying director in front of him. The accompanying director silently pointed to the camera hanging in the upper left corner of the car window. Qian looked at the camera and then at the strict director in front of him. A sense of sadness rose from his heart. Sure enough, there was no true emotion in the entertainment industry. The accompanying director, unaware of the surging emotions in Qian's heart, is still diligently completing his work. Sorry, Teacher Ji. We are only 20 minutes away from our destination, and there is a pre-interview that must be completed here. No, I'm sorry, it's my problem. I'm too tired, you can ask. Qian leaned back in her chair, she hadn't fully woken up yet. Besides, it's been live streaming for half an hour, so it's not bad to rely on this. Okay, that's the first question. I heard that Teacher Ji is participating in a variety show for the first time. Why did Teacher Ji choose our program? Fortunately, Lu Xia had already copied the answers to all the possible questions on paper before. Just now, while speaking, Qian took out the paper and stuffed it onto the backrest of the front seat. She has seen it, this is a camera blind spot, very safe. Because of me. Qian was about to answer when he realized that the piece of paper Lu Xia gave her only had answers written on it without indicating any questions. Now she couldn't even tell which answer was correct. But after all, during the live broadcast, in order to avoid revealing anything, Qian had to grit his teeth and continue reading. Because I think it's enough not to delay, there's no pursuit. Damn it, is Qian crazy? Indeed, he is possessed by evil spirits, woo-woo, it's so scary. Brother Su Qi, run quickly. Don't call me your brother anymore. My Yao Yao is weak and fragile. What should I do if I run into such a crazy person? Is it so exaggerated in the front? This looks like a sweet girl. Have you never heard of Qian? He is a famous madman in the entertainment industry, who not only eats meat and vegetables but also raises both men and women ***, what to raise? ***, oh, I can't post it, anyway it's just feudal superstition. Isn't this a popular science variety show? How can those who engage in feudal superstition still be on it? I've confessed, isn't that why I kept that thing? Not necessarily, Qian is quite pretty after all, maybe. He, previously, reported, report +1, report +10086, Qian couldn't see the barrage, but as soon as she spoke, she felt bad and didn't have time to retract it. She had to force herself to remain calm and smile, waiting for the next question. The director across from him didn't expect someone to answer like this according to the script. He was stunned for several seconds before he realized and asked again. You should have a rough understanding of the nature of our program. It's about to start recording. Do you have any expectations for your teammates? You may meet two old friends this time. Qian didn't listen to all the questions and only listened to the beginning before starting to search for the corresponding answers. Oh. Find. I mean. It should be quite scary, although I'm a bit scared, I hope I can perform better. What does she mean? She didn't answer. She looks down on our Yao Yao, is it my illusion? How could Qian speak with a wrong tongue? The one in front is not an illusion, she's just having a brain problem. Woo-woo, my brother is going to suffer again. With her intelligence, no wonder she doesn't have friends. If she can make friends like this, I will live stream and eat upside down. In the front, you have the ability to stand upside down and eat s. Qian thought his answer was good, but for some reason, the expression on the opposite director's face became even more complicated. After all, it's still live streaming, so the director can only grit his head and ask further. Qian's luck was really bad. He didn't choose the right answer for the next few questions, and the director's expression became increasingly ferocious to the naked eye. Qian also felt something was wrong, but he couldn't ask in detail during the live broadcast. Fortunately, shortly after the interview ended, they arrived at their destination. Qian was the second to arrive at the scene, and the first to arrive was the well-known host Zhao Chengyuan. Zhao Chengyuan is a well-known kind-hearted person with high emotional intelligence in the circle. Although Qian's qualifications are much lower than him, when he saw Qian approaching, he still took the initiative to stand up and greet him. Qian was participating in a variety show for the first time and felt a bit uneasy. After greeting Zhao Chengyuan, he didn't know what to say. Zhao Chengyuan saw her embarrassment and took the initiative to start a conversation. The atmosphere on site was quite good for a while. The third guest is Han Mengyao. Unlike the somewhat reserved Qian, Han Mengyao, who is known for her lively and outgoing image in the entertainment industry, first greeted Zhao Chengyuan and then ran towards Qian standing on the side. Long time no see. I miss you so much. Han Mengyao was half a head shorter than Qian, and this pounce happened to fall into Qian's arms. Although it was a sweet girl's embrace, Qian felt a chill. Although there have been strange scandals before, Qian and Han Mengyao actually have a good private relationship. In Qian's impression, Han Mengyao has always been a gentle and beautiful big sister. This is the first time she has seen Han Mengyao's lively and sweet girl persona when she was in business, and she was immediately stimulated and covered in goosebumps. Upon discovering that Qian had not answered, Han Mengyao looked up and asked playfully, "Don't Qian want me?" The camera gave a close-up shot, and in the barrage, there was an instant of chaos and chaos. Ah, 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 ah. Ah 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 Yao Yao is so cute. Is this Qian mute? Yao Yao is asking you a question. Didn't they have a rumor about a romantic relationship before? Pooh, what kind of scandal? It's Qian hitting the porcelain, we Yao Yao. Yao Yao is so kind. She must have seen Qian being scolded and couldn't bear it. She wants to help her whiten her face, right? Don't wash it. Which of Qian's black materials doesn't have a solid hammer? Yeah, Yao Yao, stay away from me, don't let Qian touch me. Although Qian felt a bit uncomfortable, after all, he was friends with Han Mengyao, and if the other party wanted to do business, she naturally had to cooperate. Qian thought this way and reached out to embrace Han Mengyao, saying, "Of course I miss you." He picked up Han Mengyao and started spinning in place. Qian's rotation speed was extremely fast, and Han Mengyao's legs were thrown flying in mid-air. The director's team and Zhao Chengyuan around him were surprised to see this scene and widened their eyes. Han Mengyao had long been accustomed to Qian's strange power and calmly patted his arm. Qian stopped and gently placed her back on the ground. Han Mengyao chatted with Zhao Chengyuan, who was standing on the side, and soon the fourth guest arrived. The fourth guest, Ying Su, is a recently debuted idol singer who has just celebrated her 19th birthday and is the youngest among the guests. Qian had also watched his debut videos before, and there was indeed a strong sense of youthfulness that was very attractive. However, Qian did not expect him to even have such a unique way of appearing. As their recording scene for this episode is an ancient mansion, the opening location was chosen at the entrance of the village where the ancient mansion is located. Due to its remote location, this village has not been fully developed, and the ground is still bumpy with dirt roads. Qian, Han Mengyao, and Zhao Chengyuan all got off the car and walked in on foot. Su is different, he pushed a wheelchair in by himself. From this, it can be seen that the directing team is really not human, they didn't even arrange a person to push a wheelchair. With such a roast in his heart, Qian suddenly found that everyone turned to look at himself, and Han Mengyao beside him pulled her sleeve and whispered, "You just said it." Ha ha ha, this is the first time I've seen someone openly scolding the director's team. Woo woo, my kind female goose is still reminding her, Su, what's wrong? Why are you still in a wheelchair? I don't know, brother Su was doing well during his concert a few days ago. Isn't it Qian who caused the trouble, isn't it said that she raised that? Don't force yourself, okay? My older brother doesn't even know Qian. Qian couldn't see the barrage and only felt a chill in his spine. Lu Xia's angry face seemed to reappear in front of him. Qian panicked and instinctively stepped forward to push Su's wheelchair, then naturally shifted the topic. Hello Su, come and say hello to everyone. Su sat in a wheelchair with a bewildered expression on his face. He instinctively cooperated with Qian, greeted Zhao Chengyuan and Han Mengyao respectively, and was then pushed to the middle position by everyone in a daze. Su looked at Zhao Chengyuan, who pushed himself to the middle, and quickly wanted to make way. Zhao Chengyuan pressed down on the wheelchair and said, Su, you injured your leg. It's easier to take the camera in this position. Su declined a few more words, and Zhao Chengyuan had to show his senior identity. Su reluctantly agreed. Just as they were evading each other, the fifth and sixth guests finally arrived late. The fifth guest is Su Qi, who once had a nude relationship with Qian, and the sixth guest is Mi Yesi, the female lead of Su Qi's new play. Qian didn't know Mi Yesi, but he was very familiar with Su Qi. From a distance, he could tell that Su Qi was not in a high mood. He turned his head and whispered to Han Mengyao, "Why do I feel that Su Qi is a bit unhappy?" Han Mengyao's eyes lit up when she heard these words, but she was worried about the camera and could only tiptoe to block her mouth and answer softly. You didn't see what Su Qi posted in the group. The girl next to him, Mi Yesi, is the female lead of his new drama and has been wanting to hype him up. Su Qi is unwilling to do so. I guess this time I'm here to promote the new drama and I can't avoid it. Qian has been entangled so much during this period that he didn't have a chance to read any news. Now, he suddenly heard gossip and became excited. He pulled Han Mengyao aside to discuss in detail, but was interrupted by a female voice, "You are Qian, right? I have read news about you and Su Qi, and you two must be very good friends." Dull as Qian, he could hear the gunpowder smell in Mi Yesi's words. Looking at Su Qi standing on the side with a face full of vicissitudes, he suddenly spoke up and said, "Which one of you?" Anyway, she was ready to withdraw from the circle and was not afraid of any more black material. Moreover, what Qian said was not entirely untrue. She likes to watch variety shows but rarely shows, so she doesn't know many actors. Otherwise, if she had done her homework beforehand, she really wouldn't know who this Mi Yesi is. This Mi Yesi is obviously not a seasoned green tea, and he couldn't bear the direct confrontation from Qian. He was about to erupt at the time, and the director team quickly interrupted him when they saw that the situation was not good. All right, welcome 6 guests to our program Entering the Truth. Our program is divided into 6 units, each of which will take 1 week to explore and find the truth at various locations where stories or accidents have occurred. We hope everyone pays attention to safety during the exploration process. Now we are starting our first recording, and the theme of the first unit is Wandering Souls in Ancient Mansions. There is an ancient mansion with a history of 500 years in this village, and you will stay in this mansion for 7 days and 6 nights. We will live stream the entire process, hoping that everyone can find the truth during this period. Chapter 3. Entering the ancient house for the first time. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the end of the opening, we will be heading to the ancient mansion. As most of the village is covered by dirt roads, the production team rented a pickup truck for easy mobility. 6 glamorous artists sat in rows in the bucket behind the pickup truck. Ing-Su was lifted onto the pickup truck by the staff with a wheelchair. As soon as the car started, the wheelchair began to slide left and right. Fortunately, Zhao Chengyuan next to him grabbed the wheelchair, otherwise Ing-Su might have been injured even more. Han Mengyao immediately protested to the production team, who had to urgently stop and move Ing-Su to the co-pilot of the pickup truck. After Ing-Su left, there was just one seat out of the carriage. The chief director, who had been driven off as the co-pilot, looked left and right before finally squeezing away the photographer who was preparing to board the car and sitting in Ing-Su's seat. Qian noticed that the chief director also held a bunch of small cards in his hand, which seemed to come with a task, but he pretended to chat with them a few times, waiting until the car started before finally getting to the point. I have background information about this ancient mansion here, let's get to know it, said Liu, handing out the small card in his hand to the people in the car, including Ing-Su sitting in the passenger seat. After posting, Director Liu explained to the live broadcast camera in the car, we will put this part of the content in an edited version that will be broadcasted every Saturday night at 8 p.m. starting from September 23rd. We hope everyone can watch it on time. What is there that my esteemed audience cannot watch, understand, if the live version broadcasts everything, no one will watch the edited version. Yes, after all, the program still needs ratings, damn it. Why is the edited version of this program half a month later than the live version? Half a month. This has been too long, making me curious too, sigh, be patient and wait. After all, it was produced by Director Liu, so it's normal to be a little slower. Qian took the card and wrote the background information of the ancient mansion on it with black background and white text. As the director mentioned before, this ancient mansion has a history of 500 years and can be traced back to the Ming dynasty. It is said that at that time, a wealthy businessman surnamed Qian wanted to return to his hometown for retirement due to his old age and physical decline. He spent a lot of money to build this ancient house, but unfortunately passed away before the house was built. Since then, the ancient house has been vacant. Decades later, during the war in the late Ming dynasty, the surviving members of the Qian family fled to this place. In order to prepare for a resurgence of funds, they sold the ancient mansion to a local wealthy family surnamed Lin at a low price. After the Lin family moved into the ancient house, they lived peacefully for more than a decade until their second son passed away. Suddenly, accidents occurred frequently in the originally peaceful home. First, the eldest daughter in-law and the old lady drowned one after another, then the eldest son was killed by bandits while going on a business trip, and finally, the old master was disheartened upon hearing the news of his eldest son's death and hung on the nave. The youngest son of the Lin family, who survived, sold the ancient house at a very low price after completing his father's funeral, and then left a distant land without returning. Later on, each household moved in, ranging from being poor and destitute on the streets, to falling apart and losing their loved ones, leaving their wives and children scattered. In short, none of them were spared, and the ancient houses were abandoned. Until modern times, ancient houses have become forbidden areas for villagers to approach. According to villagers living nearby, they often hear the screams of men and the humming of women singing small songs from the ancient house at night, but when they look closer, they find nothing. There was also a company that had a long history of looking at medieval houses and wanted to develop tourism projects, but every time they sent employees to inspect, they were obstructed by various accidents, and in the end, they had no choice but to let it go. And Qian and his team's task is to find out the truth about various strange phenomena in the ancient house within 3 days and 2 nights. This background information is written in great detail, and Qian almost believed it. This trust was maintained until they arrived at the entrance of the ancient house. Qian stood at the entrance of the ancient mansion, looking at the old lady in splendid attire hanging on the plaque at the door. His heart was almost filled with profanity. The others didn't notice Qian's discomfort, and Han Mengyao, who was walking behind, gave Qian a light push, urging her to move forward quickly. Qian watched the members of the production team calmly moving things around the old lady's feet, feeling very complicated. The old lady hanging up was not idle either. Zheng Yuan opened her eyes and cursed at Director Lu wildly, sometimes cursing him for making up things. The descendants of the Qian family were all scholars, not just merchants. After a while, it was said that this house was built during the Kangxi period, with no so-called history of over 500 years. After their death, this house was abandoned, and there were no Lin families moving in. The later stories were all fabricated by this boy for the sake of subsidies. Qian looked at the young man who appeared to be at least 40 years old, Lu Dao, standing at the feet of the old lady directing the staff, without realizing that the ghost hanging on his head was cursing him. Qian didn't know how to remind him, so he could only pretend to turn a blind eye and walk towards the yard. When passing by the old lady, in order not to show any intention, Qian didn't even avoid it. The left foot of the old lady happened to pass through her head, and Qian felt a chill near the heavenly spirit cap, just like her cold heart. Fortunately, the yard was relatively clean, and the production team set up a long table in the middle of the yard. 6 large baskets were placed on the table, and their suitcases were placed on the ground in front of the table. When they stood in their designated positions, Director Lu, who had changed into a gray coat at some point, shouted to them with a large loudspeaker, "Our program adopts an immersive approach and provides daily clothing and attire. Could you please hand over your phone, wallet and other items to the program team, and sort out the necessary items from your suitcase and put them in a basket. Each person has a basket of allowance as carry-on luggage. Thank you for your cooperation." Zhao Chengyuan is actually a veteran of variety shows. He had long guessed that the production team would have this skill, so there wasn't much in the suitcase. After removing clothes, everything else could fit perfectly into a basket with just one press, without wasting any space. Zhao Chengyuan is indeed experienced after all, with so many recorded programs. Teacher Zhao has already figured out this routine. It is said that Zhao Chengyuan recorded a similar program before. What platform is a similar program from? I want to watch it. Don't mention it. It's the half-hearted legal education program, said to be. What did the brother in front say? Why can't I see it? Don't ask, that program is not allowed to be mentioned. The brother in front of me is probably banned. Han Mengyao has a lot of things with her. She has 2 suitcases, one containing various daily necessities, and the other containing clothes and accessories she has prepared. Now I heard that the production team is responsible for clothes, and Han Mengyao decisively gave up the box for clothes, but the items in the other box are a bit difficult to choose from. Han Mengyao opened the box and everyone realized that she not only brought daily toiletries, but also a series of outdoor exploration equipment such as ropes, searchlights, telescopes, and compasses. Sister Yao Yao is so amazing. These things look so professional that I can't understand them. Mi Yesi stood next to Su Qi and leaned over to look at Han Mengyao with a surprised expression. Her expression was lifelike. If it weren't for her overly teasing tone, Qian would have thought she was really praising Han Mengyao. Han Mengyao stopped picking things when she heard this, and with a sweet smile, she grabbed Mi Yesi's hand and said, "Do you really like it?" "Great, I brought a lot of equipment. I'll teach you tonight, and tomorrow we can go on an adventure together." Mi Yesi's originally sincere smile stiffened as soon as Han Mengyao held her. She just wanted to take the opportunity to show her weakness. How could Han Mengyao take it seriously? Mi Yesi had no choice but to smile and nod in agreement, slowly withdrawing her hand. The female goose is so amazing, she has prepared so many things, the ones in front are new fans. Yao Yao has always been fond of outdoor sports, and it's normal for her to prepare for these. Mi Yesi is so cute, who knows how stupid and beautiful she is. What stupid beauty, I don't know where the aged green tea that popped out, actually hit us. Yao Yao, Han Mengyao has already passed away, isn't she? It's not worth our Miss Me hitting the porcelain, we Yao Yao have been scrutinized. What did your green tea win? The top 10 in the world tea art competition. Except for tea, I don't have any words left, right? It's been a few years since then, and it's not embarrassing to mention it. On the barrage, there was a commotion that was about to tear apart. Director Liu, who had been following the live broadcast, quickly changed the topic and said, Meng Yao has almost finished packing up. Su Qi, what have you brought with you? Ah. Su Qi, who was suddenly called out, was taken aback. He saw Lu Dao desperately blinking at him before finally taking over the topic with a clear understanding. I don't have much to bring either. Su Qi opened his suitcase and saw clothes on one side and various exorcism tools on the other, including 24 thick yellow paper. Su Qi didn't feel anything unusual, so he took the initiative to show it separately. I heard that the filming locations of this program are all in places where real events have occurred. He specifically asked for some protective things, such as this peachwood sword, which I asked for at Shanyun Temple. It is said to be able to ward off evil and avoid evil. Su Qi carefully placed the peachwood sword into the basket and took out a string of Buddhist beads, saying, This is the Buddhist bead I asked for at Sishi Temple. It's clear that the master has opened it before, and there's also this one. Su Qi took out another small wooden box and said, This is the incense ash from the incense burner of Zhaoran Temple. Sprinkling it around the bed before bedtime can calm the mind. Oh, and the most important thing. Su Qi held out the 2 thick layers of yellow paper and showed it to the camera. These are all what I asked for in the temple. They have been exposed, but they haven't been painted yet. I'm going to let Ji Xiao. Ji Qian quickly covered Su Qi's mouth with his hands, preventing the tragedy from happening. If netizens know that she can draw symbols and make up any rumors, Xia Jie will definitely come to the scene and take her to justice. Su Qi is so superstitious, I didn't see it. This is called contrastive cute. I love you no matter what, brother. Su Qi's request is quite complicated, it's both a temple and a temple. Ji Qian, you pervert, let go of my brother. Damn it. Is Ji Qian finally going to unleash his animalistic nature and make inappropriate remarks at the scene? Why do I seem to hear Su Qi say Ji Qian's name? I must have heard it wrong. Brother Su Qi is not in a hurry to avoid her. Su Qi also realized his slip of tongue, and didn't dare to speak more when tidying up afterwards. He looked a bit cold and handsome. Chapter 4. 2 Mountain Knives. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. With Su Qi's precious jewels in front, Ing Su's luggage seemed plain and unremarkable when opened. Even the accidentally dropped underwear was only a few fans screaming, but it failed to spark a barrage of discussion. Maisi brought 3 suitcases and a suitcase. The first suitcase was full of snacks, but as soon as it was opened, it was confiscated by the director's team. The second box was filled with various kitchen utensils, including pots, pans, pots, salt, oil, soy sauce, and vinegar, and even a small bag of raw rice. Unfortunately, it was eventually confiscated by the director's team, leaving only a flat-bottomed pot claimed by Mi Yesi to be used for self-defense. The third box and small suitcase were filled with clothing and skin-care products, and Mi Yesi even wore a sexy silk nightgown, which was easily taken away by the director's team. In the end, apart from the frying pan, skin-care products, and some intimate clothing, Maisi left almost nothing behind. Perhaps because there were too many things taken away, Maisi seemed to have been greatly affected, and she didn't express her tea language for a long time. Ji Qian was the last one to tidy up her luggage. She brought 2 suitcases, one of which was urgently purchased locally yesterday and contained all special items that could not be carried on the plane. Although Lu Xia tried his best to stop her while packing her luggage, it was all a life-saving thing. In the end, Qian managed to retrieve such a box of treasures in the dark while Lu Xia was sleeping. Now it seems that Sister Xia probably already knew there would be an unboxing process. Qian thought in a daze and obediently opened his suitcase. The contents of the box were scattered haphazardly, indicating that they had been hastily stuffed in. White paper money was scattered around the corners of the box, and a large plastic bag in the upper left corner was filled with gold ingots. The bottom was lined with gold paper used for stacking ingots. But the most eye-catching ones were the 2 sharp-edged mountain knives lying in the middle of the box. The blades of these 2 knives still gleamed with cold light, indicating that they were the real weapons that had been sharpened. Qian took out 2 knives from the box and tried hard to assemble them into a weak, pitiful and helpless appearance towards the director. These 2 knives have accompanied me since I was young, and I have to hold them when I sleep to fall asleep. Can you leave them for me? He said. Unfortunately, Qian did not understand herself. Most of her acting skills came from imitation, and her imitators included friends around her as well as various ghosts. These objects could not have made a pitiful gesture. Perhaps it is precisely because of the lack of reference materials that Qian is not good at playing pitiful, and even his facial expressions may appear particularly fierce due to poor coordination. The director's team trembled as they looked at Qian, who was holding 2 mountain knives in front of them and staring with fierce eyes, but these 2 knives were definitely going to be confiscated. So Lu, who was facing Qian, coughed and whispered to the assistant director beside him, "Take it away." The deputy director gave the director a vague glare and turned to the camera beside him, saying, "You go collect it." The big brother holding the camera helped his earphones, pretending not to hear. The deputy director looked left and right, but couldn't find the next victim, so he had to turn his gaze back to the director. Director Lu sat steadily like a mountain, not swayed by the outside world's gaze. He didn't dare to act recklessly even if he didn't move anyone else. He watched as Qian put his knife into the basket. Seeing this scene, the just silent barrage exploded again. I'm not mistaken, did Qian take a knife? The blade is still open, and the tip of the blade is still shining cold light. Is she just so blatant? No one's taking care of her. You dare to interfere with me? Why are we talking about knives? Didn't anyone see those paper money and gold ingots? Hi, Qian is well known in the entertainment industry. It must be used for offering sacrifices. I advise you not to demonize Qian. Demons are not so scary. Lin Xiao, you. After everyone has packed their luggage, the director's team will arrange for the guests to go to the side room for makeup. Due to the director's previous statement that Walking into the Truth is an immersive detective variety show, each guest is required to undergo makeup that is in line with the detective era, and their identity background is arranged for each guest. In this unit, the guests play the role of a wealthy businessman who moved into an ancient mansion after the Lin family. Zhao Chengyuan is the master of the family, Han Mengyao is the eldest daughter, Ji Qian is the second daughter, Su Qi is the eldest young master, Ying Su is the youngest young master, and Mi Yesi is the cousin who admires the eldest young master. Actually, Mi Yesi was supposed to be the third young lady in the family, but her agent strongly demanded that the production team add this secret love line for the convenience of promoting CP. Due to the late Ming Dynasty era, the guests were dressed in ancient costumes. After all, it was a program mainly promoted by the platform, and the production cost was sufficient. The makeup for the guests was even more exquisite than some small web dramas. Ji Qian, who has always played the role of a maid, is still wearing this kind of young lady's clothing for the first time. Under the care of the stylist, his originally beautiful features have a somewhat ethereal feeling. I didn't see it before. Ji Qian was quite beautiful. Guess why I didn't see it before? Because her acting skills were so poor that she could only play the role of a maid. Sure enough, people rely on clothing, and even Ji Qian looks good like this. Hao Yao is so beautiful, like a pampered young lady. Mi Yesi is not bad either, he looks so seductive at that person's eyes. Goddess and green tea, don't rub against each other. We Yao Yao are unique and beautiful. Shen Pe is not talking about Ji Qian, is she? Ha ha ha, don't say it, really don't say it. Zhao Chengyuan was the first one to come out of the dressing room. Although he was nearly 50 years old, his figure was still tall and straight. At this time, he was wearing a navy blue robe, not like a wealthy businessman, but like a graceful scholar. Su Qi was only a few seconds behind Zhao Chengyuan. He had acted in many historical dramas before, and at the moment he appeared, the bullet screen was filled with famous characters he had played. Combined with his cold and stern face, it gave netizens a feeling of returning home in the moonlight. Han Mengyao also came out quickly. She looked particularly playful in a light pink long dress. Although she was the second oldest among the guests, she now looked more like the youngest sister in the family. Ji Qian was the fourth one to come out, and the director's team paired her with a blue long dress. Her emerald green hairpins on her head made her already snow-white skin appear even fairer, giving her a feeling of being a scholarly lady. The remaining two people are both very slow in speed. Ing Su is having difficulty changing clothes due to leg injuries, while Mi Yesi is arguing with the production team because the yellow dress arranged by the production team does not match the red dress that the agent wants. About 10 minutes after Ji Qian came out, Ing Su, who was pushing a wheelchair, arrived late. Mi Yesi was the last one to arrive. She was wearing a goose yellow dress arranged by the program team, but her makeup on the face was not the same as the gorgeous red dress, looking somewhat out of place. Mi Yesi didn't seem very satisfied with this arrangement either, and the fake smile that had been hanging on her face disappeared. Chapter 5. Dedication Determines Fate. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Now that the recording has officially started, please draw lots to decide your room. The deputy director placed a wooden signing cylinder on the table, and since there was no designated drawing order, everyone was unsure what to do for a moment. Zhao Chengyuan, as the most experienced senior present, took the initiative to initiate the work of advancing the process and said, "I won't be polite to you anymore. Just follow the order of packing up just now, I'll draw first." Seeing that everyone had no objections, Zhao Chengyuan drew a wooden stick from the sign box and gestured to Han Mengyao. Han Mengyao also stepped forward and drew a wooden stick. Su Qi was the next one. He skillfully picked up the receiver, shook it with both hands, and closed his eyes tightly. While shaking his mouth, he muttered something, looking particularly devout. A wooden sign slid onto the table with the shaking of the receiver, and Su Qi picked it up and returned to the team with a natural expression, as if nothing had happened. "Can we get a good room in this way?" Ing Su asked, but perhaps Su Qi's actions were too infectious. He even chose to shake the sign barrel, but he was obviously not as skilled as Su Qi. It took him a long time to finally successfully shake a wooden sign. At some point, Mi Yesi bumped into Su Qi's side and lifted her head in an attempt to act coquettishly. "Brother Qi looks so impressive in drawing lots, can we also draw a draw for him?" She even squeezed her chest, but unfortunately, the ancient costume was too tight to show anything. Su Qi, as the object of being spoiled, remained motionless and said to Mi Yesi in a cold tone, "The most important thing in drawing lots is sincerity. I can't do it." Mi Yesi, who had hit a soft nail, didn't feel embarrassed either. She just pounced and walked forward with a look of grievance, pulling out her wooden stick. Ji Qian, as the last one, could have avoided drawing lots, but why are there so many lots left? Shouldn't I be the last one? Ji Qian pointed to the sign box in front of him, indicating that it was about to end, but there were still 5 or 6 wooden lots left in the sign box. Director Liu picked up the loudspeaker placed on the side and shouted to Ji Qian, "We have included the main hall, kitchen, firewood room, and yard as options. You may have drawn a normal room, or you may need to set up a tent in the yard. Isn't that very creative? The other 4 people who had finished drawing lots changed their faces when they heard this. They thought the rooms were almost the same, at most some were luxurious and some were ordinary. Who knew that the production team could still have such a naughty operation? Only Su Qi showed a hint of complacency with a smile. Qian, who was originally planning to take a casual swipe, changed his mind when he heard this. Qian ran back to the dressing room, took out a soft cushion and laid it on the ground. Then, she picked up the sign cylinder from the table and knelt directly on the cushion. She closed her eyes tightly and raised the sign cylinder, kowtowed 3 times firmly to the west, and then began shaking the sign cylinder. Like Su Qi, Qian was swaying while muttering words in his mouth. Perhaps because the voice was louder, everyone present could hear the curse Qian was muttering. I want to live in a big bedroom, I want to live in a clean and clutter-free big bedroom, I want to live in a clean and clutter-free big bedroom, I want to live in a big bed room. As the last word for room fell, a wooden sign engraved with the number 1 dropped along with it. The director team saw the number on the sign and let out a loud howl. Qian, who had not yet stood up, heard the mournful cries from the director team and knew in his heart that it was stable. After drawing the lottery, it's time to check the room. Han Mengyao pulled into the servant room next to the kitchen, which was a traditional large bunk. Although it was a bit hard to sleep on, it was spacious and clean inside. Qian didn't see anything inappropriate either. This room is quite clean, but the bed looks so hard. Is it really okay with Yao Yao? Yao Yao's old fan told you there's no problem. This sister loves camping very much and has slept in even worse environments. Yeah, don't look like a little princess, Yao Yao is actually quite strong, unlike some drinks. Who was the person mentioned earlier about the strange energy of yin and yang? We thought about what happened to you. Our Cece is a true little princess, never setting up any camping persona to walk female fans. One sentence describes me. Yesy. The face of a person knows where to go. Ing Su was originally drawn to the firewood room, but considering his leg discomfort, the production team moved him to a bedroom on the first floor and urgently installed some accessibility facilities inside to facilitate Ing Su's daily life for the week. When the assistant director introduced the use of accessibility facilities to Ing Su, Director Lu silently drifted to the end of the team and boasted to Qian next to him, "Well, our crew is still very human, right?" Looking at Director Lu, who was looking forward to praise, Qian didn't know how to deal with it. Suddenly, his mind twitched and he said, "Wow, you guys are so awesome." Director Lu's smile twisted instantly, and the assistant next to him pulled him away when he saw the situation was not good, avoiding the tragic scene of the director being publicly killed by the artist. The program team is so considerate. Su must be very happy. Great, I was worried that Su's foot injury would worsen due to recording, so I should be fine now. Ha. Director Lu actually remembers this incident. Director Lu. Woman, you have successfully caught my attention. Director Lu has some grudges on him. Director Lu is so brave. Did he forget the double swords? Earlier, I think he forgot. Ha. Qian is amazing. This wave of satire is full. Qian, the next few days should be tough. Judging from Director Lu's expression now, I'm worried that he might pounce on Qian and get chopped off. Director's sacrifice to heaven. This program is sure to be popular. Next to Ing Su is Zhao Chengyuan's room, which is an ordinary bedroom. The pink veil hanging on the bed frame indicates that this should have been Han Menyao's room. Zhao Chengyuan adapted well and joked with a smile, "It seems that among the 3 girls, I am still the most beautiful. I was assigned to such a beautiful room." Han Mengyao has collaborated with him before, and when it comes to joking, she doesn't have the same concerns as others. "Chengyuan, let's exchange with me. My body seems to be arranged for this house," she said. Zhao Chengyuan put on a weak posture and said, "Cough, I'm getting old and can't help but struggle." "Mengyao, you're in good health and I'm sure you can handle it." "Su Qi, me yesy, and Ji Qian's rooms are all on the second floor. Mi Yesi's room is located by the stairs and is an ordinary bedroom, nothing special. Su Qi's room is adjacent to Ji Qian's, but smaller than Ji Qian's room. There is a small living room in the outer room, and there is also a space for writing by the inner window. The innermost bed is hung with layers of gauze curtains, indicating that it should be the wife's room. The fact has proven that the devout lottery method may really be useful, because Su Qi's room is clearly the second most luxurious in the entire house, and the first luxurious is naturally Ji Qian's room. Chapter 6. Hangers on the Cross Beam. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ji Qian's room is the former master's bedroom of the ancient mansion, much more luxurious than Su Qi's room, and upon entering, there is a solemn and dignified lobby. On the left side of the lobby, there is a study room with incense burning on the table. Passing through a door on the right is the bedroom, and I don't know where the director team got a stepping bed, which looks quite antique. It has to be said that the director's team has put in a lot of effort in the decoration of this room. From small vases hanging paintings to large tables and tables, they all exude a touch of ancient charm. Even the knowledgeable guests entering the room couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. As the owner of the room, Ji Qian stood motionless at the door, looking at the lobby with fear in his eyes. Su Qi turned around and saw Ji Qian's unusual appearance, and quickly left the room. The speed was so fast that even Mi Yesi, who was standing next to him, couldn't even catch him. Maisi couldn't give up and wanted to get closer again, but was blocked by Ing Su's wheelchair and could only stare at him in anger. Unfortunately, her gaze was directly ignored by Su Qi. Su Qi looked inside the room and asked Ji Qian next to him in a low voice without looking askance, "What did you see?" Ji Qian raised his chin slightly and gestured to Su Qi to look at the thickest beam in the middle of the lobby, saying, "There's an old man hanging on top of it. He should be from the same family as the old lady at the door." Upon hearing these words, Su Qi's pupils slightly dilated and his body began to involuntarily sway back and forth. You mean? There's an old lady. Well, I just saw these two for now. Ji Qian glanced at Su Qi's reaction and miraculously calmed down. You're even timid than me, why can't you think of participating in such a program? Su Qi looked at the beam and felt waves of blackening in front of him. Perhaps due to psychological effects, he felt like he could also see an old man hanging there. Is that chubby old man wearing a black half-sleeved shirt with a Mickey Mouse painted on it? Ah! Ji Qian looked at the slender old man with a white beard dressed in ancient business attire on the crossbeam, and then looked at Director Lu standing under the crossbeam, who had dyed a head of silver hair to keep up with the trend and was still wearing half-sleeved Mickey Mouse. He didn't know how to answer for a moment. Lu Dao saw Su Qi and Ji Qian standing outside the house without coming in. He was about to call them in when he saw Su Qi, who had just been full of energy, sway back and forth a few times before falling straight back and making a loud noise. The live broadcast was urgently interrupted, and the screen stayed at the moment when Su Qi fell. The bullet screen instantly exploded, and the entry hashtag suspected of Ji Qian casting a spell, Su Qi fainted on the spot hashtag instantly became a hot search. Ah. I'm going to kill Ji Qian. Wuwuwuwuxu, is Brother Qi okay? Everyone, I have already called the police. This time, we must arrest Ji Qian. Oh my god, actually harming people in front of live streaming. Are these feudal superstitions so rampant now? Why are you all cursing Ji Qian? Su Qi clearly fainted on his own. Yo, there's someone like Ji Qian to help talk to. She forgot about watching Su Qi take a shower before, right? She must have bewitched my brother. My brother fell down to fight against the insect. Woo, how pitiful. The barrage was filled with curses, which continued until the live broadcast resumed. Director Lu sat in front of the camera, holding an A4 paper with 4 big characters written on it. Just heatstroke, don't report fake police. The other members of the production team behind director Liu were escorting the police officers who came to investigate out. Due to Su Qi fainting from heatstroke, in order to ensure normal recording, the program team decided to arrange a 4-hour rest time for the guests, and in order to facilitate the live broadcast, a personal live broadcast room was opened in advance. Except for Su Qi, whose live broadcast room was temporarily closed due to illness, the other 5 guests had personal live broadcast rooms. Except for Ji Qian, most of the other guests had personal fans in their live broadcast rooms, and the barrage became much more harmonious. As for Ji Qian's live broadcast room, apart from a few passers-by, it was almost filled with Su Qi's fans, and the full screen of insults made people unable to bear to look directly at it. Fortunately, Ji Qian couldn't even see these bullet comments at this moment. Otherwise, according to her temper, she would probably have picked up Su Qi, who was still fainting, and beaten him to vent her anger. Ji Qian, Su Qi, and Lu Xia were all in the same orphanage when they were young, but Lu Xia was the daughter of the dean and a few years older than them, so Su Qi and Ji Qian are actually closer in comparison. If it weren't for the company's strict requirement to create a male god image for Su Qi and keep him at a distance from the opposite sex, their relationship wouldn't have spread those bizarre rumors. Ji Qian always knew that Su Qi was very timid. When she was young, she wanted to ask Su Qi for help when she could see a ghost, but this kid knelt faster than anyone else. Fortunately, she thought that Su Qi could make some progress by going to so many strange places when he grew up, but this time she saw that Su Qi was even more timid than before. He was so tall. In fact, Ji Qian, who was not much braver than Su Qi, was standing in the position where Su Qigong had just fainted, waiting to stare at the old man hanging in the room. Unlike the overly lively old lady at the door, this old man was like a humanoid pendant. Ji Qian stood at the door and watched him for so long, but he didn't even open his eyes. The silent old man is much more terrifying than the lively old lady, whose noise can offset some of the sense of terror, while the former has a sense of terror that may erupt at an unknown time. After confirming that the old man had no intention of moving temporarily, Ji Qian gave himself half a day of psychological construction before finally making up his mind to move towards the house at a speed that was difficult to detect with the naked eye. Just as Ji Qian was about to step into the room, a fair hand patted her from behind, startling him and causing him to jump into the room. Outside the room, Han Mengyao, who was still holding up her hand while patting, was startled by Ji Qian's sudden outburst. However, as she watched Ji Qian's defensive posture emerge from inside, she also realized something was wrong. "What's wrong with you?" Ah. I'm fine." Ji Qian felt a bit embarrassed after seeing the person coming, but just now she jumped high and jumped directly into the inner room. At this moment, she didn't have the courage to cross the old man on the beam again, so she had to stand inside and pretend nothing had happened. Han Mengyao noticed Ji Qian's discomfort and didn't mention what had just happened. She just asked Ji Qian, "I'm going to see Su Qi. Do you want to come with me?" Ji Qian glanced at the crossbeam again and was about to refuse when Han Mengyao walked over and pulled him out of the room. Let's go. It's not appropriate for me to go alone," he said. Han Mengyao said this, pulling Ji Qian straight through Su Qi's room and finding a corner where the production team had not installed any equipment. Han Mengyao finally let go of Ji Qian's hand after seeing him noticeably relax and confirming that there were no cameras or recording equipment around. "You can see those things, right?" Chapter 7. The Power of Money. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Upon hearing Han Mengyao's question, Ji Qian was taken aback and instinctively denied, "Sister Meng, what are you talking about? Feudal superstition is not acceptable." Han Mengyao didn't care about Ji Qian's approach at all, and continued her speculation. "When we worked together before, I noticed that you always stare at certain places on the set, sometimes even running far away just to avoid a piece of open space. You probably don't know, I also have a bit of a supernatural constitution." I tried to go to the place you avoided, and although it's summer, as soon as I pass by, I feel cold all over. When I went to the house to pick you up just now, I also had that feeling. Is there a ghost in that house? Han Mengyao's reasoning was well-founded and even verified, but Qian didn't know how to refute it for a while. He opened his mouth but didn't say anything. Han Mengyao saw that Qian was not ready to speak, and then continued, Su Qi should not be able to see, but he knew you could see, so he actually fainted in the afternoon. Speaking of which, you used to take a detour to avoid them, and you didn't dare to come out from the house just now. Are you afraid of ghosts even though you can see them? Han Mengyao, who had been calm all along, suddenly became excited. Qian felt as if his personality had been insulted and said, I can see, but it doesn't affect my fear of ghosts. Ha! You admit it. Han Mengyao looked proud that I had caught her. It was only then that Qian realized he had been deceived and regretfully wanted to disappear in place. Seeing Qian's deeply hurt expression, Han Mengyao didn't forget to comfort him. Don't do this, I didn't mean to. I really think it's unbelievable that you're afraid of ghosts when you see them. Shouldn't you get used to it long ago? Don't talk. Han Mengyao didn't comfort him, but after comforting him, Qian only felt even sadder. Although Han Mengyao felt like she hadn't done anything wrong, she felt inexplicably guilty when she saw Qian like this. She had to squat down and say to Qian, well, I'm not really afraid of ghosts, why don't we two change rooms? Han Mengyao had seen Qian's room, and although there was no bed, it was much better than her hanging room. However, having someone live in a haunted house for oneself is a bit unethical. Although Qian was very tempted by Han Mengyao's proposal to exchange rooms, he still reluctantly refused. It's okay, didn't the director say there's a tent in the backyard? I just want to live there. Upon hearing Qian mention the backyard, Han Mengyao's expression suddenly became strange. You haven't been to the backyard yet, have you? Upon hearing Han Mengyao's question, Qian shook her head. She had been fighting with pendants all afternoon and had no time to go to the backyard. Seeing Qian deny it, Han Mengyao said to her with a face that was indeed true. I went there this afternoon, and the backyard is very cold. Don't be too cold. Afraid that Qian might not take it seriously, Han Mengyao added, what I mean is, every corner of the backyard is very cold. Looking at Han Mengyao's solemn expression, Qian felt his hair stand on end. Combined with what Han Mengyao said earlier, doesn't this mean there are ghosts in every corner of the backyard? I want to quit. With these words, Qian was about to rush towards the director's room, but Han Mengyao grabbed him and said, wait. Don't be impulsive. Do you know how much the penalty for breach of contract is for this program? When it came to the penalty for breach of contract, Qian's mind briefly became clear from fear. These things were usually handled by Lu Xia. Although Xia had previously sent her an electronic version of the contract, she was too lazy to read it carefully. At this moment, she suddenly felt regretful for her past laziness. How many are there? Han Mengyao looked at Qian's crystal clear, almost foolish gaze, and tenderly touched his head. In a tone that seemed to coax a child, she lightly said the answer. 60 million. In just 3 words, the effect was even more terrifying than ghosts. Qian felt a tremble in his voice as he said, shouldn't it be 10 times the penalty for breach of contract? I'm not worth 500,000 yuan per episode. Han Mengyao looked at Qian with a more kind gaze and said, this program was strongly promoted by Tomato TV. Due to the long recording time and high danger of the program, the original price was higher than ordinary programs. In addition, there have been too many celebrity crashes recently. In order to prevent the celebrity from crashing before the broadcast and causing the initial investment to be wasted, they simply increased the appearance fees of all the celebrities. Just now, Qian, whose legs were still weak and unable to stand up, suddenly felt full of strength upon hearing these words. So, as long as I finish recording this program, I can get 6 million. The speed of changing her face made Han Mengyao feel a bit stunned. You won't terminate the contract. Qian took a wooden stick from somewhere and waved it in the air a few times before turning his head to Han Mengyao and saying, "What to say? This program is not easy to do, and many staff members work day and night for this program. How could I stubbornly quit just because of a small difficulty? Do you still need to change rooms?" Change. Chapter 8. CHA Combination. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Although he was talking about changing rooms, when Han Mengyao was preparing to move with a basket in her arms, Qian hesitated again and said, "Sister Meng, why don't you forget about it? That room is really not clean, and you definitely can't live it yourself." Han Mengyao was originally walking in front of Qian with a basket in her arms, but when she heard this, she suddenly stopped and said, "I think so. What you're saying makes sense. After all, I'm a girl, so it's definitely not suitable for me to live alone, so." Han Mengyao turned her head and looked at Qian, her two big black eyes shining brightly. "Let's live together." Ah. Qian never expected such an answer. Reason briefly ran away for a moment, until Han Mengyao couldn't wait to pull her towards the main room, and Qian finally regained his senses. "No. Wait a moment, what I mean is that we both live in your room." Qian's strength remained strong, and Han Mengyao was pulled back to her original position by her. Looking at Qian in front of him, who was weak, pitiful, helpless but as powerful as an ox, Han Mengyao Xiaozhi persuaded him with emotion, Qian, if you think this way, my room is just a servant room. The environment is not good and the location is not good, so there may not be any clues. And your room is the best in the entire house, definitely hiding many clues. Didn't you just say you want to record the program well? If we can't solve the puzzle, this program may not be able to continue broadcasting, but... Qian clearly knew that Han Mengyao was trying to argue, but couldn't find a way to refute it. Han Mengyao took advantage of the situation and chased after him, and the bed in my room is really hard. Sleeping for a week will definitely make you sick. Qian, you can accompany my sister. It won't be too scary for us to live together. Han Mengyao deserves to have been in the first love of the nation for many years. She is more charming than me, Yesi. Although Qian had already known Han Mengyao's true face, seeing this scene still made him feel a little tempted. Fortunately, fear eventually overwhelmed everything. Qian hesitated for a while and finally refused the temptation of beauty with a righteous tone. Han Mengyao saw that one plan couldn't be achieved and proposed another plan to Qian. "Then, why don't I go call me Yesi and let the three girls sleep together? Her room has a very small bed, so she must not be comfortable sleeping either." Qian's originally unstable mind was once again hit hard. To put it bluntly, the bed in the main room looked very large and easy to sleep on, and if three people were together, they wouldn't be so afraid. After all, triangles are the most stable structure. Qian was lost in thought, trying to find reasons for himself. When Han Mengyao saw her let go, he immediately dragged her to the door of Mi Yesi's room. In fact, the commotion between Han Mengyao and Qian in the corridor was not small. Mi Yesi, who had not taken a nap, had already heard their movements. Due to the thick door, in order to hear more clearly, Mi Yesi even lay down on the door panel. At this moment, she saw Han Mengyao pulling Qian over. Mi Yesi thought about returning to bed and pretending to take a nap, but at the moment she turned around, her left foot tripped over her right foot and she directly slapped the ground in a big font, making a bang sound. Qian and Han Mengyao, who happened to walk to the door, were both stunned when they heard the sound. Han Mengyao pushed the door forward and found it impossible to open. Qian hurriedly pushed Han Mengyao open and kicked open Mi Yesi's room door. The sunlight slowly poured into the room as the door opened, illuminating Mi Yesi lying on the ground without bias. The three of them didn't know how to speak, and for a moment, the room fell into a long silence. Fortunately, this awkward atmosphere was soon broken by the director's team who heard it. Looking at the broken door lock kicked by Qian, the production team had no choice but to propose a move to Mi Yesi after multiple failed restructuring attempts. Even for the sake of the reputation of the production team, they cannot let a single female celebrity continue to live in this unlocked room. Han Mengyao took the initiative to ask Mi Yesi to move in with Qian when she saw the situation. She also said that her room was so remote that she was afraid and wanted to move in with Qian. Qian certainly didn't have any objections. Mi Yesi was originally planning to refuse, but suddenly remembered that Su Qi lived next door to Qian. Thinking about how her agent had been pressuring her before, Mi Yesi hesitated for a while but didn't say a word of refusal. All three parties agreed, and the production team couldn't stop it anymore, so this matter was settled. Han Mengyao was clearly very satisfied with the result, and regardless of the reluctance on Mi Yesi's face, he enthusiastically helped her pack up and walked towards the main room. Mi Yesi and Qian followed behind, feeling dejected. The camera in Mi Yesi's room was already blindfolded when she was eavesdropping, so the viewers watching the live broadcast had no idea what had happened. At this moment, when they saw Han Mengyao walking alone with two baskets towards the main room, they thought she was being bullied. Are newcomers so arrogant now? How dare they let seniors take things? Qian, let's just forget it. This woman is crazy, maybe she's threatening Yao Yao. What's the reason for this Mi Yesi? What's wrong with our Mimi family? She's so weak, maybe it's the senior who loves and cherishes her fragrance and Jade who is that old. Look at the big, long face of your iced tea. Even standing with Yao Yao can play Yao Yao's mother. Huan Yao Yao, she's already in her 30s and still pretending to be tender. She must have bullied two little girls because of her age. Little girl. You're not talking about ghost groups, are you? What kind of ghostly combination? It's a combination of Qian is a ghost, and Mi Yesi is a T, it's going strong. I saw the CP of Qian formation, not CP. Just for the convenience of cursing. Wait, are they going to live together? No, can Mi Yesi be willing to live with Qian? Look, isn't that basket Mi Yesi's luggage? The basket next to it belongs to Yao Yao. Han Mengyao held a basket and placed it directly on the table in the main hall. Mi Yesi was also polite and sat directly on the Grand Tutor's chair in the center of the hall. Only Qian stood outside the door and refused to enter. Mi Yesi had a heavy fall just now, and now she finally felt more comfortable sitting in the chair. Thinking of the spacious and soft bed inside, her attitude towards Qian also softened a lot. Why don't you come in? There was Mi Yesi present, and Qian's gaze towards the crossbeam was not too obvious. He could only change the topic unnaturally. I was active, and I was tired from sitting inside just now. Oh, Mi Yesi, who received a response, no longer cared about Qian and leaned back in the chair, closing her eyes and regaining her composure. Han Mengyao was not prepared to let Qian live and die on her own. She put down the basket and turned to pull Qian's hand, saying, "Here, I'll take you away." Qian knew he couldn't avoid it. Anyway, he had to sleep in this room at night. Xian really followed Han Mengyao inside. The old man on the crossbeam still hung quietly, without any reaction to Qian's actions. Qian's suspended heart gradually calmed down, but still felt empty in his heart, as if he lacked the courage to support her. What was it? Chapter 9. All fear comes from insufficient firepower. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This question didn't last too long. After seeing the basket next to the bed that belonged to him, Qian suddenly remembered something he had forgotten. Her precious mountain knife. Due to being able to see and even touch ghosts from a young age, Qian has always believed that all fear comes from insufficient firepower. Before encountering Master Chang, Qian always carried weapons with him for self-defense. Even if he couldn't carry them on a plane, he would buy 2 sharp weapons for self-defense as soon as he landed. Of course, due to limitations, Qian's weapons are always not fixed, sometimes 2 kitchen knives, sometimes 2 fruit knives, and even a pair of scissors. However, if Qian uses them most conveniently, he still needs 2 mountain knives that can be waved. Qian was lucky this time. There was an outdoor goods store near the hotel where she bought 2 high-quality mountain knives. 2 knives were pulled out from the bottom of the basket, and Qian wrapped them left and right onto his belt. In fact, Qian's usual habit is to tie it to his legs, but the ancient dress is too long. If there is an unexpected situation, there will be no time to draw the knife, so it is better to buckle it onto his belt. Although it may seem a bit abrupt, survival is the top priority, and anything that looks good should be sidelined. Without any female celebrity's self-awareness, Qian swaggered out of the bedroom with 2 big black bags on. Han Mengyao, who was tidying up her daily necessities, glanced up at Qian and instinctively said, "I am a beautiful woman, how can I be a thief?" Upon hearing Han Mengyao's words, Mi Yesi opened her eyes and saw Qian pulling out 2 knives from his bag and casually holding a knife flower. Qian had a calm demeanor and sharp movements. For a moment, Mi Yesi felt that she was much more handsome than the male actors in those costume dramas. However, in just an instant, Qian's next action quickly shattered Mi Yesi's longing. Qian held a pair of knives in his hand, looked at the old man hanging on the crossbeam, and then thought about all the tragic experiences he had experienced that day. For a moment, his anger surged from his heart towards his gallbladder, and he wanted to charge forward. Unexpectedly, after only 2 steps, Han Mengyao, who was waiting for the opportunity to move, tripped and fell straight to the ground. Mi Yesi looked at Qian, who was patting a cake on the ground, and felt that this scene seemed familiar, as if she had also been lying on the ground like this not long ago. It has been proven that people will not always be jokes, but there will always be people who will become jokes. At this moment, Mi Yesi is very grateful to Qian. After all, when she fell, only 2 people saw her. Now, Qian's fall is in front of millions of netizens. Indeed, the misfortune of others is the cure for herself. Damn it. This knife is so handsome, ha ha ha, how could Qingben be a thief? That's right. Qian, calm down and act well, can't you? What a great candidate for a chivalrous woman. I thought these 2 knives were used by her to stir up news, but she really knows how to dance. Wow, what a terrible fall, ha ha ha, this is the first flat throw I've seen this year. Thank you, Qian. Why do I seem to see Han Mengyao trip her up? You must have misread, how could Yao Yao reach out and trip someone? Why does Mi Yesi look so healed on her face? She looks so eerie. She may also be a cheerful person. I see people fall with the same expression. The 3 topics of hashtag Mi Yesi Lu Ziran, hashtag Xi Jinping's fall, hashtag and hashtag Han Mengyao's suspected stumbling hashtag went straight to the hot search, and Han Mengyao and Mi Yesi's agency quickly posted articles to clarify. There was not much movement on Qian's side until after 7 o'clock in the morning that day, when Lu Xia finally posted a video on Qian's Weibo account. This is a collection of Qian's flat throwing that she edited overnight. It has to be said that Lu Xia is still very good at catching up with the heat. The video she posted directly pushed the topic of hashtag Xi Jinping falling hashtag, which dropped to just over 20 places, to the top 10 of the hot search list once again. Qian, who was unaware that he was about to be promoted as a topic figure, was standing at the table in the front yard with other guests, waiting for the director's dinner arrangement. Han Mengyao next to her felt a bit guilty about tripping over Qian. While the production team was not paying attention, she whispered to Qian, "The dinner I'll get later belongs to you. I don't need to eat so much to lose weight tonight." Qian didn't refuse either. She has been eating more than others since childhood, and now she is really a bit hungry. But Qian actually didn't blame Han Mengyao, and even thanked her a bit. If it weren't for Han Mengyao blocking her in the afternoon, she might have really chopped it up. Qian later calmed down and realized that the old man had no grudges or grievances against her, and was quietly hanging in his own home. She was the outsider who suddenly broke in. Although she was scared by the old man, this was also her personal problem and had nothing to do with him. Although Qian has slain many ghosts in recent years, almost all of them were because ghosts actively approached to scare or even harm her. Quiet ghosts like the old man, Qian has always avoided them and has never harmed them. Unexpectedly, today's mentality almost set a precedent. The more Qian thought about it, the more he felt that he should say thank you to Han Mengyao. So he whispered in Han Mengyao's ear and said, "Thank you this afternoon." Han Mengyao was stunned for a moment and gave Qian a sweet smile. "Stop flirting with Teacher Han and Teacher Ji, we need to start talking about the rules." The director's loudspeaker interrupted the underground communication between Han Mengyao and Qian. The two people who were named turned their heads to look at the production team, both with a righteous and stern expression, as if they were not the ones who were caught whispering earlier. As the guests' attention was drawn, the production team no longer played tricks. "Our program adopts a point exchange system, with 1 point for each ordinary clue and 5 points for each key clue. By reasoning and reproducing individual events, we can exchange 10 points, and by reasoning out the general storyline, we can exchange 20 points. By reproducing the entire event, we can exchange 50 points. The points can be redeemed at the director's office from 9.00 to 11.00 and from 14.00 to 17.00 every day. The points for each story can be accumulated in the next episode of the program, which can be used to exchange for food, rooms, tips, or various special benefits, such as bringing an extra piece of luggage or providing props by the director's team. Considering the special circumstances today, everyone should not have time to search for clues, so today's dinner program will be provided for free by the team according to the usual routine of a program. There should be guests cheering here, but because everyone present except Xiao Chengyuan and Han Mengyao is participating in a variety show for the first time and not familiar with this routine, the scene fell into a brief awkward moment. In the end, Xiao Chengyuan took the initiative to pick his head, applaud and cheer to thank the director's team. Other talents reacted and quickly followed suit. Director Lu's face, which tended to be pale, also eased. Chapter 10. Dream Sister, You Are My God. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The dinner was indeed good because there were too many unexpected events today, and the production team did not limit the amount of food. Qian ate 3 bowls of rice before reluctantly putting down the dishes. Han Mengyao, sitting next to Qian, heard her muttering softly, "Half full for dinner, healthy and long-lived." Han Mengyao looked at the bowls and plates piled up in front of Qian, and for the first time, she had a new understanding of the word half full. Considering the injuries and discomfort caused by Su Qi, after dinner, the production team reiterated the specific rules and allowed the guests to return to their rooms for rest. After all, it is a house from hundreds of years ago. Although the production team has made appropriate renovations, due to the constraints of hard conditions, even the most luxurious rooms in the ancient mansion are not equipped with independent bathrooms. There are only 2 bathrooms in the entire ancient house, one in the backyard and the other at the end of the second-floor corridor. Before returning to his room, Qian took Han Mengyao to the bathroom to reduce going out alone. To everyone's surprise, Qian pushed the door open and saw 2 legs dangling from the bathroom window, with blood dripping continuously from his gray-blue pants. Qian couldn't see the scenery beyond the window and was not prepared to watch. After solving his own physiological problems, he hurriedly pulled Han Mengyao back to his room. "Oh, you're back." As soon as Qian closed the door, he turned around to meet Yesi, who came out of the bedroom with a facial mask on his face. Qian ran all the way back, still in shock, and only responded to Yesi's lifting his hand. Yesi expressed that she had been perfunctory, and she didn't get used to Qian either. She directly retorted with a strange tone, "Sister has really good skin, unlike me who has to take off my makeup as soon as I come back, I can't even care about the camera." After finishing her sentence, Yesi felt that what she was saying was a bit vague, afraid that the audience wouldn't understand. She added, "Sister is so exquisite, I must have turned off the live broadcast before removing my makeup." Yesi didn't know, but at this moment Qian seemed to be still awake, but in fact he had been walking for a while. Han Mengyao, who was dragged back by Qian all the way, finally regained her senses. Seeing that Qian had no reaction, she was worried that netizens would see the clues and quickly stood up to make amends. There were mice in the bathroom just now, and Qian was scared. He hasn't regained his senses yet. Oh. At this moment, Yesi also saw that Qian's condition was not right, but she couldn't help but apologize. She could only respond calmly and then turn around and walk away. Han Mengyao breathed a sigh of relief and helped Qian, who was still in a daze, sit down in the bedroom. "You're running so fast, it's okay. There are no more mice in the room. I'll go wash my face and pour you some facial wash. Don't leave the house tonight. I'll go find the production team tomorrow to catch the mice and they'll be fine." Thinking that the two of them had not avoided the camera when they were running wildly just now, Han Mengyao deliberately added a few more words to solidify Qian's fear of mice. After speaking, Han Mengyao went out to wash up, and Qian sat on the bed for a few more minutes before finally regaining consciousness. The impact of those two blood-stained legs on Qian was quite significant. In comparison, the old man on the crossbeam appeared more amiable. Based on the instinct to live as close as possible, Qian squatted to the bedroom door, leaning against the door frame, looking at Yesi who was sitting opposite the old man pendant with a facial mask. A trace of emotion rose in his heart. Number 39, sure enough, sometimes ignorance is also a form of happiness. Number 39, Yesi was stared at by Qian, making her hair stand on end. However, considering the misunderstanding just now, Yesi temporarily chose to endure. As is well known, human patience has limits, and Yesi's limit is obviously quite low. Just as she finally couldn't help but prepare to attack Qian, Han Mengyao walked in from the door with a basin of water and called on Qian, who was still squatting at the bedroom door, to come and wash up. Upon hearing Han Mengyao's voice, Qian decisively gave up on Yesi and took a step from the bedroom door, sliding and kneeling all the way to Han Mengyao. Qian knelt down on one knee, holding a rose he had picked up from somewhere. He passionately confessed to Han Mengyao, who was still holding a water basin, "Sister Meng, you." "Yes. My God." Han Mengyao thought that if she were not recording a program, she would definitely give Qian a kick. She remembers that this child was quite normal before. Was she scared and silly? Did I read it right? Did Qian confess his love to Han Mengyao? No, are they all so open now? Didn't you all look ahead? This should be just to thank Yao Yao for helping her pour water, right? I don't think so. Did you forget the news about Qian attacking Han Mengyao's chest before? Ah, is there another thing? Also, Qian even secretly watched Su Qi take a shower before, which scared Su Qi and made him fall out of the RV directly. Ha ha ha, it's truly the entertainment industry. You're really enjoying it. Qian didn't know that her momentary brainstorming had added another legend about her in the martial arts world. I don't know if it's because I'm too tired or because I don't have a phone for entertainment. Anyway, the 6 guests from the first episode of Walking into the Truth all took an early break tonight. Qian thought he would experience a sleepless night, but ended up sleeping until dawn. If it weren't for Han Mengyao waking her up, Qian felt like he might have slept until noon. As the production team mentioned yesterday, the point-based shopping system will start this morning. Considering that the early guests do not have time to earn points, the considerate program team offers the option of loan meals during breakfast time. After all, there will be a whole day of recording ahead. Except for Qian, the other 5 guests have all chosen to take out loans, while Qian chooses to give up breakfast and start searching for clues directly. Han Mengyao originally intended to secretly pass a bread to Qian, but was caught by the program team and almost lost her dining qualification. Su Qi took the opportunity to successfully smuggle 2 eggs for Qian, but unfortunately, this was just a drop in the bucket for Qian. After separating from Su Qi, Qian met Ing Su, who was sitting in a wheelchair, at the entrance of the program's warehouse. Judging from Ing Su's expression, it was likely that he had come to help her. Qian should have been very moved. If she hadn't been prying at the lock. Are you prying the lock? Ing Su hoped that he had guessed wrong, but Qian's guilty expression and the hands hidden behind his back were proving the correctness of his guess. Ing Su himself is not averse to such behavior. After all, the loan policy implemented by the program team is indeed a bit too strict, but, Qian, do you know there are cameras here? Ha, this is a large-scale social death scene. She not only didn't know there were cameras here, but also didn't know there were surveillance cameras. Ha, police uncle is this person. Qian's skill is too harsh. Everyone, hurry up and watch the director's live broadcast room. It's looping through the entire process of Qian's lock-picking. At this moment, in the monitoring room, Director Liu and other staff members were gathered around the screen repeatedly observing the techniques and movements of Qian's prying lock. The assistant director standing behind leaned over to Old Wang, who was in charge of managing the warehouse, and confirmed again, "Are you sure that lock broke and couldn't be opened before?" Old Wang also had an incredulous expression on his face. "I tampered with the key for 3 hours yesterday but didn't open it properly." "How did she do it?"